Hello once again. Welcome to Zephyr's BI and Analytics, where we learn by building BI projects. Today on this channel, I'm going to be walking you through how I created a real traveler's notebook in Power BI. The dataset was actually gotten from Kaggle and is actually the Maven UK Rights dataset. The notebook is actually a 3-page notebook. On the first page where we are now is the overview. We have the details, where we have the right details. And finally, we have the page 3 where we have the possible challenges. So if it's your first time on this channel, why don't you click on the subscribe button? Also turn on your notification to always stay updated when interesting projects like this are uploaded on the channel. Now, in order for you to create this project, here's what I have done. Attached to the video description is a link to a OneDrive where you'll be able to download the dataset, and you also be able to download a sample PBIX file for you to be able to create this report. Now, you don't have to write any measures. You just have to download the file, download the dataset, and also download the background images. I've also attached the PowerPoint file for the background images because I created the background image in PowerPoint. Once you have all this done, what are you waiting for? Let's jump right into it. So once you have the Ray Notebook PBIX file downloaded and opened, this is exactly what I expect you to see from your own end. The first page is actually a tooltip, right? Then we have a blank page 1 overview, page 2, and page 3. So quickly, before we start creating our visuals, the next thing you quickly need to do, I expect you that you must or you should have downloaded the data set by now. So the next thing you quickly need to do is come to transform data, transform data. Once this opens up Power Query, you see the prompt I'm getting. That's because I on purpose changed my file path. So you're going to have same issue when you download your data, right? So what you quickly need to do is make sure this table is selected. That's the railway. Come to where you have the source up here on the applied steps. Come to where you have the source up here. Just click on the settings. Once this opens up, you click on browse and you navigate to where you have the file downloaded. That's the dataset file where you have it downloaded. The folder, just navigate there. For me, I know it's somewhere in my desktop and I have UK train. I'll just select railway and click on the railway and click on open and click on OK. So this is resolved already. So all I need to do is come to the last step here and everything is in order. No issues anymore. So next, I'll just come to close, close and apply. So with this step, my data set is linked to the report I want to create. My data set is linked to the report I want to create. I'll just allow it to load. So for this report, there were really no serious models, right? If you come to table view, we actually just have 2 tables here, the railway and the calendar table. Of course, we have our DAX table. If you come to the model view, it's just 2 tables we have here, calendar and the railway. So let's go back to the report view. Also, like I said, you're not writing any measures. The measures have already been written for you. The reason I did this is because most of the measures I'm going to be writing here, we've done it before now in my previous videos. So if it's your first time on this channel, we have a lot of interesting reports on the channel. You can just go watch those reports, we create those reports, and trust me, you're going to learn a lot from creating those reports. So most of the measures we're going to be using for this report, we've already done them before now. We've written a lot of the measures before now, so we don't need to go back again. But one thing I've also done in my measures table, I've sectioned all the measures in order for you to just easily spot the one you're looking for. We have trips, revenue, refund, price, and label. So what do we do next? So on the page 1, which is the overview, let's just bring in our background image, right? I'll just expand my visualization. I'll come to format report page, Canva background, I'll browse. I have it on my desktop as background 1 or background. I'll just select it and click on open. I'll scroll, reduce transparency, change image feed from normal, make it fit. So this is actually the background image for the first page, right? I actually changed it from the one I currently have, but this is the background image for the first page that we're going to be working with. So what do we need to do next is just to bring in our visuals and start creating our report for page one. So basically for page one on this left hand side is just basically text box I use in writing a bunch of text there. So I'll just go, let's navigate back to the report now. These are just text box, right? A journey through Britain, a real traveler's notebook. I think I would like to make a copy of this. So let's see how we can make this interesting, right? I'll navigate back to our report now. I'll just paste this here. If it works, yeah, awesome. So now I would select DIN. I want to increase the font size a bit. Okay, I think I want something like this. Exactly. Um, you can actually spice this up, right? You can spice it up. Um, I wanted to do this before now, but for some reasons I didn't. So you can actually spice this up. I'll just make sure it's centralized. I'll change the font color now to white. So we have something like this. You can also just decide to underline it. I'm just doing this offhand. I really didn't do this for the other one. So this is it, right? I'll also bring in some of the other text we have on the other report. So I'll just navigate back to this report here. I know I have a bunch of text. So I'll just copy them, right? I'll copy these. These are just text box. We're just using text box here. Nothing, not done anything yet. So I'll put this here and just change the font color to white, right? Okay. I'll navigate back one more time and just copy this text I have here also. I think I'm going to remove a lot of the things I have here. So I'll just bring this here and paste it here. So what I'll do is I'll remove the details in front of the text. I'll remove the details. I'll just remove the details. I'll remove the details. I'll remove the details. Yeah, so I think I want something like this. I'll just change the color again to white. Okay, so it's no longer 2-page. I'll just say 3-page. Let's say 3-page notebook, 3 pages. Okay, so I'll just adjust this a while, bring this down here, possibly bring this down here. Okay, so we have something as simple as this, right? We have something as simple as this, just journey through Britain, a real traveler's notebook, welcome to your essential guide and all that, just a bunch of um, text here. So next, let's look at the report quickly and create what we need to create next. So now on the right-hand side, I actually used the new, that's the new button slicer, right? I use the new button slicer. Then these are also slicers. So let's go back to our report. So if you check through the data set, remember, when you downloaded the data set, there's also a dictionary there for you to understand what each column in the data set actually means. So you have the transaction ID, you have the date of purchase. This transaction ID is more like the ticket. You want to go on a trip, so it's more like the ticket or the trip. Then, of course, the date it was purchased, the time it was also purchased, right? Then you have the purchase type. For the purchase type, you have online and station, right? You have online and station. That's you bought it online or at the station. So then you have the payment method. How did you pay? How did you pay for the ticket or the trip? How did you pay? Contactless, credit card, debit card, and all. You have rate card, adult, disabled, non, and senior. You have ticket class also, which is first class and standard class also. Then, of course, you have the ticket type. Then you have the price. Then, of course, there are two major stations. You often have a departure station and the station you want to arrive. So from and to where. That's basically what this is looking at. What is the date of the journey and the departure time, right? Then the arrival time, right? This is the arrival time. This is the arrival from the departure time to the arrival time. That's you get the hours or minutes you need to spend on that journey. But then we're not looking at the actual arrival time. So they're looking at, so you're supposed to arrive at 3:35 a.m. But did you arrive at 3:35 a.m.? Did you arrive late or early? So that's what the journey status is now looking at. The journey status is now saying on time. Either you arrived on time or it was cancelled, delayed, or on time, right? On time, cancelled, or delayed. Then you have the reasons for delay if it's delayed, right? But now, if it's not delayed, that means it's on time, right? So for every other one that was cancelled or delayed, you can actually see why: signal failure, or shortage of staff shortage, staffing, technical issues, traffic, weather, and all that. Then you can see refund requests. Was there a refund or no refund? This is actually looking at delay time. I calculated this myself. So it's actually using the date diff, right? The actual arrival time minus the arrival time. So that would tell us if the train, at what minutes or hours the train arrived late. Of course, if it arrived early, it will be zero. That's because, of course, it cancels out. That means the train was actually on time. Then purchase days. This is just, I don't think we use this in the report. Then of course the hour category. We've done this before now. The hour category is looking at the departure time, right? What time are you leaving for the journey? They want to know the traffic, like how many people are leaving at the same time, the traffic, the foot traffic of people using the train that time. Then of course this is the sort, this is your enable or sort this hour category. Then of course, is it morning or evening trip? Is it an early morning or evening trip? That's what the AM or PM stands for. Then from to is just me combining um, the from station, which is departure station and arrival station together to get from a particular station to another station. Then of course we have the trip time. The trip time is of course then the actual time of arrival, the departure time, then of course the actual time of arrival. That will tell us how the trip time, the trip time itself. Then this is not supposed to be trip time anymore. This is actually supposed to be delay time. I don't think I got this right. So this is supposed to be delay time, right? The delay time in the sense we want to know how long it was delayed. If the time is how long was the ride delayed or the trip delayed, right? That's what we want to know from this very column we have here. So that's basically it. So let's go back to our report. So now I'm just going to bring the button slicer. I'll just place it here. So what we want to look at is we want to look at the available tickets, right? Available tickets at a particular day. So you select the day you want to go for your journey and you get to see the available tickets across the different stations. So once I select my button slicer, I'll just come to my data and go to my from and to. I'll select that from and to. So I get all the stations, right? Of course, you have to scroll down. I get all the stations, right? So I'm looking at this is Birmingham to Coventry. Let me just reduce this a bit so I can get more space. So this is Birmingham to Coventry. That's what I'm looking at. I have just 3 rows. Remember, you can always adjust these, right? If you come to the report we're trying to create here, you actually have just 2. So probably we're going to reduce ours now. So you can actually see we have Birmingham to Coventry, Birmingham to Liverpool, and all that. So the different departure station to arrival station and all. So I can come to format now, come to layout, and this is actually grid. Maximum number of columns, I can actually say it should be 2. So you just have 2 columns, right? So this is it. Then you can start going to, you can come to color values and increase the font size a bit to see clearly and any other thing you want to do. Remember, this is working like a slicer actually. So now to add the labels, right? The label we wanted to add was the tickets available or the trips for that location. The let me check. We want to look at the trips for that location, the price, which is the average price, and the duration of the trip, how long it will take you. So it's basically you looking at a particular station and looking at how long it will take you, the tickets available, and how much it will cost you. So for that, there is a measure I wrote here, right, that combines Let me check. Okay, yeah. So on the label, you find that on the label. That's the ticket info. So the ticket info label looks at the available tickets, right? Of course, we have a measure written on total trip already. Total trip just counts a distinct count of the transaction ID. Then we have the average price, which is also there. Then we have the trip duration. These columns are actually there already. You don't need to do much. So each of them, you find the information about them. For the trips, you have the trips here, right? Then for the price, you actually have the average price here also. Then for the trip duration, you actually have it here, average trip um, duration, that's the trip time. So this is the label. We want to combine these three information together for each of the from and to the destination. So once you have that selected, I'll come to my colored values again, scroll down to where I have label. I'll turn on the label, right? I'll expand, then I'll add. First, I'll change this to DIN, possibly increase the size to 10, then change the color to black. Then I can come and say add, expand. I'll go to label and I'll say ticket info label. So that automatically brings in the label for each of the destination. So you can now see, you then see Birmingham to York. Of course, tickets, available tickets 65, price £20, trip duration 1 hour 45 minutes. That's basically it for the first page of our notebook. So you can scroll down. Of course, you see lots more, see lots more. You can actually increase the size and do some other things. I thought of adding some icons to this also, but I didn't have much time, so I worked with what I had. So next, we had some couple of slicers up here. So we had some couple of slicers, ticket class, date of journey, and also ticket type, right? Then of course we give our visual a good title. So I'll just copy the title I have here. Navigate back to our reports, select, go back to general, turn on the title. Instead of from to, I'll just paste this. So this is basically speaking to what we have up there. So I'll make it 16 and also centralize this. So you have available train ticket, route, price, and travel duration. So I'll bring in a slicer. This is one of the slicers I'm going to bring. I'll just drop it up here. So I want this slicer, I'll come to my data. I want this slicer to look at ticket class, right? So we have two ticket class, first class or standard. So I'll change the format of the slicer from vertical list to drop down, right? And I'll come to general effects. I'll turn off the background. So I have something like this. Next, I'll come to visual values. I'll change this style, font style, DIN. I can make it 14, right? I'll come to background and I'll change the background color. The color code for the blue is actually 07689F. So I'm going to be using this color code. Now for the font color, I'm going to change this to white. So you have something like this, right? So you can select first class or standard. Now I'll just adjust this, make this look okay. Then you can come to the slicer header and just say select ticket class, right? Increase the font size to like 14. So we have a slicer there. Make some adjustments. So think about it this way. You can actually select a ticket class and you get to also see the changes here also. So we'll do the same for the ticket type, right? And the date. So I'll just bring same slicer, Control C, Control V, and change this from ticket class to ticket type. So you now have ticket type, advanced, anytime, off peak. Remember, there's a data dictionary. So this will be select tickets type, not class anymore. Okay. And finally, I'll just make a copy of this for the date, right? Ideally, we have a date calendar table, right? So I could go to our calendar table and bring in the date, but that's not what I want to do. Rather, I'll go to our data and bring in the departure dates, the departure date, right? The departure dates. So we have a departure date. So I'll look for it. Date of purchase, departure station, journey status. Okay, that's dates of journey. That's the date of the journey. So I'll just select that date of the journey. But this is not what I want. So which of the okay, so I don't want it as a drop down settings. I don't want it as a drop down. I think I want this as between. Yeah, something like this between. So when it's between, I'll also come and turn off the slider. This slider, I'll turn it off. So I can select a date, right? Range from here. I can also select a date range from here. So let's quickly format this. Once I have select, this is no longer select ticket type, it's select date, right? Select date. Then I can come to my values, come down, change this to DIN as usual. Come to the background, change the background color to this so it looks. Then the font color, I'll change it to this. So this is what you're going to get, right? Then of course the title, select date. That's the header here. I have to make it a bit bold. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll copy this, turn this off, come to general, turn on the title, and just paste this here. I think we're working with 14, which is fine. So great, so select date. So that's basically it for the first page of the report, right? Okay, so um, I think I would want to increase the number of rows we have here. So I can just expand back, select, expand, come to the layout and increase the number of rows. Instead of 3, let's make these maybe 5. So 5 is fine. So now I want you to think of it this way, right? So what you're seeing here is basically saying you want to travel on a particular date. You're not so sure, but you want to get a ticket in advance or so, and you have a destination in mind. So first, you can think of what ticket and class you want. You can say a standard class ticket, right? What is your expected departure date? What time? What is the date for your journey? So if you're not so sure, let's say I want to travel between 31st of January and let's say 12th of March, right? Then of course I want off peak, depends on what I want. So with that, you then get to see the available tickets across each station. So Birmingham to Coventry, you just have one ticket available, the price, and so that's the concept behind the first page. One thing you can also do to make this interesting, you can then on select, instead of going through this on selecting and doing all this, right? You can actually just come say 1st of January, right? And of course, the data is actually to April. Now, once you have this state, you can come to view, come to bookmark, and just, I think I had bookmarks here already, so I'll just delete this. I'll delete this. So you can add a bookmark, right? When no date is actually, no, I need this to be out of standard, right? We don't need anything selected. So we don't have anything selected as of now, right? We have the entire date range and we don't have anything selected. So at this stage, you can just add a bookmark and just say this bookmark should be called reset. Reset, right? Should be called reset. So you can then go ahead, I'll just uncheck the bookmark. You can then go ahead and bring a button, much more button, and much more a clear button also. You can bring in a clear button, a blank button now. You bring in a blank button and you probably just place it somewhere here, anywhere, just place it anywhere. I didn't do this before now. Like I said, to expand, you can put on action for your button, expand, say you want to tie it to a bookmark and you want it to be reset. Then of course you can style your button, add the text and say reset. Of course, also change the style, increase the size a bit, change the color. So whichever color you want to use. So remember, this button can actually be in any form. It's up to you. So the reason I did this is, say you have your button here, right? So what happens, for example, I select a particular date range now, and that's not the date I want, and I don't want to go back. I can just hold my control as of now, just hit my reset button and everything resets. So imagine I select standard class, anytime, select a particular date range and all that. After all the selections and it's not what you want, you check, it's not what you want, you check, it's not what you want, you can actually just hit the reset button. Also, we have a tooltip page here, right? We have a tooltip page here. So we can also just link that tooltip to this first page here. So I'll select it, expand my visualization, come to format, and I'll come to general, I'll come to tooltips, I'll put it on, expand the tooltips, report page, I'll say it should be route tooltip. Then I can just collapse this. So basically, if you hover, your tooltip gives you information. Birmingham, new streets to Coventry, 64 trips, ticket class, and all that. You just get the entire information at a glance. So that's it for page one, right? You just save this. That's it for page one. For page one. Next, let's go to page two. So I'll navigate to page two. Once we're in page two, the next thing I will need to do is bring in our background image, right? I'll expand, come to format, Canva background, browse. I have it on my desktop, and that should be background image two. I think I'll reduce fit, reduce the transparency again. Okay, no, this is the wrong background image. So I could bring the, I think that's image three actually. So image three, open. Of course, I reduce the transparency. This should be fit. So I have the background image three right here. I have it right here. So if we navigate back to our report that we want to create, you can actually see that on page two, we have more details about the trips, right? We have a lot of details about the trips. So let's go ahead. First, I'll copy this text I have here. I'll just copy this text I have here. Navigate back to the report. The text should be up here somewhere. So yeah, so the text should be there. So let's create the first KPI card, right? Now, if you come to the report, we have the first KPI card, everything about trips, right? And the journey status. Then we'll have a little text here. Then we'll have the trip trend also. So let's go ahead and make this happen. Navigate back now. First, we bring in a KPI card. I'll just bring in the regular card visual. Reduce the size, bring it up here. And I'll come to my DAX. Remember, this is looking at trips. So I'll bring the total trips. This is trips. I'll select. It's showing me 32K. So I'll come to format, turn off the category, right? Come to general, turn on the title, expand, text. I'll just call these trips, right? I also want to make it centralized. So trips, possibly we increase the size a bit also. So this is what we have. While we're here, I'll come to effect. I'll turn off the background also. Also turn off the background. So I have something like this. Next, I'll come to visual, colored value. I want to reduce the colored value to 35. And I want to come to the display unit, say none. So I have something like this. And think that will be all for trips. So that will be all for trips. I can actually make this look this way. So you have something like this. So I can make a copy of this. This is trips. I will just bring this down here. Make sure it's well aligned, right? I'll bring another one down here. Make sure it's well aligned also. And I'll bring another one down here. Control C, Control V. Make sure it's well aligned. So this is no longer looking at trips. This is looking at revenue. So I can come, remove trips, drop revenue, right? Maintaining the same format. I can come, remove trips from here. This is looking at what was this looking at? Price, average price. So I'll come to my price, average price. And finally, this is looking at refunds. So I can come on check trips, go to refund, and this is looking at refunds. So I have everything for the first section done already. Okay, so remember you have to name this properly. This is revenue, is not looking at trips. So general effects, this is looking at revenue. Then this is looking at price. This should be average price. Then this is looking at refunds, the refunds that were made. Okay, great. So next, we actually want to then look at the trips across the status. You know, the journey is actually either cancelled, delayed, or on time, which is successful. So for that, we're going to be using the 100% stacked bar chart. I'll just bring that here, expand the bits. So this is the 100% stacked bar chart. Then I want to look at my trips now, my trips, right? But I want to look at it across the different, that's the journey status. That's the journey status. Now, the journey status should actually come on the legend, right? It should come on the legend. So I'll take the journey status, drop it on the legend. So I have something like this, right? So we then need to go ahead and format this. I'll come to format legend, I'll turn it off. I'll come to the y-axis, I'll turn it off, turn off the value, turn off the title. I'll come to the x-axis, turn off the value, also turn off the title. I'll simply come to general effects, I'll turn off the background, so I have something as blank as this. I'll just bring this here, right? I think we also need to reduce the size of our text, so I'll select this text, format, call out value. I think I want to make this 25, a bit smaller. So yeah, I want to make this 25 a bit smaller. So I need to come to general properties 6140. So I have to come back here. This should be 60. This should be 140. So I can actually select every other one, right? I can select this, hold down my control, select this, and come to general properties 6140. I'll type 6140 to make sure it affects the three card visuals. So 6140, come to visual, call out value. I want to make it 25. So yeah, this is in place just the way we want it. Just adjust, make sure it's well aligned. Please, alignment is very important. So now I can bring this here, right? Also, I can come to effect, general, or turn off the title. We don't need any title for that. Just collapse this a bit. So reduce the size. Just make sure it fits. Yeah, so this is what I want, right? So we have the trips then by the status also. So next, simply going to come to data labels, right? And just turn on the labels. So you see, but the space is actually too small. That's why we can actually see the label display, which is also fine by me. Next, we need some kind of title down here, but we can actually give these our colors, right? So we select this, right? Come to format and bars. Now, I don't want to give all the series, so I'll change this to cancelled. Cancelled, I want it to be a red color, and the red color code I want to use should be F94646. So this is the red color code I want to use for cancelled. For delayed, I also want it to be this color code more. I want it to be A2D5 F2, A2D5F2, that's for delay. And for on time, which is successful, I want this to be the regular blue color we've been using, which is this blue color code here. So this is how it's ought to look like. Next, we need, since we can actually see the values, right? So this is the trips, but we can't see the values for cancelled. We can't see the value for delayed and completed. So what I'll do is to bring in the new card visual. I'm using the new card visual in this case, not the old one, the new card visual. So I have the new card visual, right? I'll simply go to my measure and select trips. So I have something like this, but I don't want it named trips. So what I'll do, I'll just do that down here. I'll check this and probably just name this cancelled, right? Cancelled. So what I'm going to do is expand my filters and come to where, bring in my journey status here and select cancel. So this is number that was actually cancelled, right? I'll just log this in, collapse this. I'll come to general effects. I'll turn off the background, right? I'll come to visual. I'll go to cards. I'll scroll down, turn off the background, turn off the border. So this is what I have, right? But I'm not done. I'll go back to color values. I'll change this to cancelled. This should be 18, right? Is 18 too small? Let's make it 20 and see how it looks. 20. I'll come to display units to be none. So this is what I want to see. Then next thing I want to do now is to come to cards, come to accent bar. I'll turn it on. So I have a small accent bar by the other side. I'll expand the accent bar and probably just increase the width by 1. So I have 3. So this is what I want. Something like this. So I can increase the width of the accent bar to 4. So it shows like this. So it's going to look like this. Just make these adjustments, right? Now, I'll go back to the accent bar, right? This is actually looking at cancelled. So I'll make sure the accent bar is the same color as cancelled, which is red. So this is what I'm going to have. I'm just going to bring it down here. You see? So I can now make a copy of this. This is no longer cancelled. This should be looking at delayed, but this should be looking at successful. So just adjust carefully, right? You can select these, hold control, select this, come to format, come to align, right? Align and distribute horizontally to make sure it's well distributed. So this is no longer looking at cancelled, right? We know I can change the status of this from cancelled to delayed, right? Once I do that, I have to come to cards, the accent bar. I have to change it, the color from red to delayed, right? Then for the last one, which is no longer cancelled also, is looking at successful, which is on time. I also change the color of the accent bar to fitting. So we need to change the title once more. So this is no longer cancelled. This is what now? This is delayed. So this is delayed. Why this is successful. Just double click. Successful. Yes. So that is it. So we have the first card. So next we need to bring in a bar chart. So clustered column chart this time around, clustered column chart, right? We have the column chart here. We have the column chart here. Okay, so for our column chart, we need 2 fields, right? So for our x-axis, we need to bring in our month. So we'll go to our calendar and bring in the month end, which is the short month. I'll just drop it on the x-axis. I'll drop it on the x-axis. So we have the month. Then we also need to go to our trips and bring in our trips. So this is what we're going to get. We get the month and the trips that were done. So we need to format this quickly. I'll select, come to format, come to columns, and I'll turn on the border, come to layout. The space between categories, probably increase it a bit. Let's make it 35 or 40. So we have something like this. I'll also come to general effects. I'll turn off the background, right? Then I'll come to visual. On the x-axis, I'll scroll down. Before scrolling down, I'll change this to DIN, make it 10. Change this to black. I'll also turn off the title. right? Then for the grid lines, we don't need them. I'll put them off, right? So we'll have something like this. On the y-axis also, I'll turn off the title, but I'll leave the values. Then on the y-axis, I'll expand, change the values to DIN, increase the size to 10. So I have something like this. So title, this is no longer trips by month. I'll just say trips trend. I'll also just take this to the center. Remember this now, I want this to be speaking to the color. So I'll come to visuals. What are we going to? Columns. Then I'll change the color to the blue color. So we have something like this. But then the labels, the y-axis is already speaking to the values we have here for each month. So we want to see on the month-on-month basis. We already have a label for that, right? If you come to the measures we've written here, we have a month-on-month trip. We have a month-on-month trip too. Then we have a trip color. So what are we waiting for? Select the visual, right? Come to format, scroll down, turn on the data label, right? This is not what we want. Expand the data label, scroll down, right? When it comes to values, put it off, put on the details, expand, change this to DIN, change to 10, the font size to 10, come to add data, expand, go to trips, and you're going to add the month-on-month trip. So you get this. So you can then see on a monthly basis the percentage difference from January to February. There was a decrease of 13%. But we also want a color change, right? If it's going up, we want to say the trip is going up, green color. If it's coming down, we want to say it's coming down. So we'll go back to the data label again, come to the details, then we'll come to this conditional formatting we have on the details here. Then of course, this should be based on field value. Now we want to say the field value, expand your data, expand your DAX, come to your trips and come to your trips color, trips color, trips color, trips color. That's the trip color. Select the trip color and click on OK. So with that done, this is exactly what you're going to get, right? This is exactly what you're going to get. So everything we've done for trips now, we just need to do that for revenue, price, and refunds. So I'm only going to do that of revenue. You end up doing for price and refunds. It's the same thing. So what I'll basically do is select these, just make a copy, Control C, Control V. I'll just bring it down here, make sure it's well aligned with what I have up there. Now I just have to come on check trips, replace it with revenue. That's all. No, that's not all. Remember, there's a filter. There's a filter based on the journey status, right? Based on the journey status that we're using here. This is being splitted. The legend is actually journey status. But in terms of revenue, we're not looking at journey status, please. So come back to your scroll down, come to legend, remove the journey status. I think for revenue, we're looking at that by the payment method, which is more like a revenue generated by the payment method. So next, this should be splitted by the payment method. Rail, let's look for the payments method and drop it on our legend. So we have the payments method, revenue by the payment method. So which means we now need to do this again for the payment method. So to continue, I'll just select this for our payment method. Of course, we're talking about money, so it's interesting. I'm going to look at contactless and I'm going to change the color code to, let's say we want to use B3, D5, BF. That's the color code for contactless. Credit card, we want to use more. We want to use 609071. Then finally for debit card, we want to use 154827. Okay, so this is the color code for the three. So next, I'll just come up here, right? Make a copy of this. I'll bring it down here, just drop it here for now. Now I know I'll come up, I'm not looking at trips, rather I'm looking at revenue. right? I'm looking at revenue. Also, I'm not looking at it by journey status. Rather, I'm looking at it by the payment method. So I'll filter it by the payment method. The first one is actually contactless. So I'll select contactless and just log this up. So this is contactless. I'll come to format once more. I'll just come to colored value. I'll change this to revenue. We want this to be 18, right? Or 20. It was 20 we used earlier. 20. Then we want to come down to what else? What else? I think that's all actually. Okay, yes. So we want this display unit to be none. So this is the value. I'll just reduce the size. Obviously, I'll go check the size we use here. I think that was 60, 140 or so. So I'll expand these labels, right? I'll make sure that the spacing between the label is actually 0. So I have something like this. Yeah, so I think I'll do the same thing for this. I'll make sure the spacing is 0. I'll do the same thing also. Make sure the spacing is 0. Same thing here. Make sure the spacing is 0. Okay, so for this, we're looking at contactless. So this is contactless. There was no contact. So also, we can come now to format, come to cards, scroll down to where the accent bar and match it with the same color for contactless. So we can bring this down here. Like I said, I'm going to change the size. So this is what's the size for this. General properties, 77, 137. So it doesn't really matter. I can actually just size it here though. Yep. So we can do this also. Make sure the sizing is proper. Don't need this, please. Okay, I think we're good. So we have the contactless, right? This is contactless. So I'll just make a copy of this, bring it here. See, it's well aligned with what we have up there, same position. This is no longer contactless. This is looking at credit card. Then I'll make one more copy and make sure it's well aligned with what I have up there. Why this is looking at what now? This is looking at debit card. So remember the color coding, right? For the accent bar, I just hide my filters, color coding. This is looking for this is looking at the, what is this? This is looking at the credit card, right? So accent bar, credit card, I think is this color, yeah. Why the debit card, I think is this color. So let's rename this. Let's rename this to credit card. Sorry. So let's rename this to credit card. Credit card. Then this should be debit card. Debit card. All right. So we have credit card, debit card, and we're good to go. I'll just make a copy of this up here, right? And bring it down here also. Okay. So now remember, I'm not looking at trips. I'm looking at revenue, right? Great. I'm looking at revenue. So this is not trip trend, please. This is revenue trend. Great. Also, the month on month should be based on revenue month on month. So I'll come to format, right? Come to data label, expand the details. I'll remove this month on month trip. I'll add data, come to revenue. It should be month on month rev, not rev 2, month on month rev. So month on month rev. Or I'll also come to the color, right? Is working with that of trips. So I'll cancel it. Click on the conditional formatting, come back, field value. This should be working with our revenue color, that's rev color. Click on OK. So once that is done, you can see we now have trips, we have revenue, and everything is in order. So you can go ahead and create for price, and refunds. So once you've done that, what we're looking at here, we just brought in a clustered bar chart, right? Here, we want to look at the top 10 routes. So basically, I'll just come select my trips, right? Expand my data and select, that's the from and to. So you have the from and to. But we want to look at the top 10 only, because there are a lot. So I'll expand my filters. I'll say from and to, basic top, and that's top 10. And I'll go back to my trips. I'll drop my trips and apply. So I'm looking at just the top 10 routes, which is more like the busiest route, right? We can come to format now, effects, general, effects. We can turn off the background, right? Turn off the background, come to our X, Y axis. We turn off the title, change this to DIN, increase the font size to 10, make this black, consistency. Then come to our X axis, turn off the values, turn off the title. So this is basically it, right? So we can change the bar color to the regular blue we've been using and give it a better title. But for the visual title, we actually want to say this is London to Birmingham, right? We want to show the trips, and we also want to show more like the hours, average time in hours and minutes, right? So if you navigate back to the report we're trying to create, you can actually see the trips and the travel time, more like the travel time. How long does it take to travel from London to Birmingham? This is saying 3 hours or so. So I'll just select this and copy the text title. That's the chat title, please. I'll copy the title, navigate back, give it a better title, make it bold, center. So we want to look at the available, that's the total trips and how long it takes per trip, right? So once I select the chart, I can come to format. Now I can put on the data label, right? I'll expand again, same principle. I'll turn off the values. I'll put on the details, expand. We can actually do this on trips too. Let's say we turn off the values, turn on the values, right? Let's try this and remove trips. Now we're looking at label, expand the label and come to this ticket info and label 2 and select the label. So this is what you're going to get. You're now seeing the trips and the travel time. That's the ticket info label 2. So we change this to DIN, also increase the size to maybe 10, 10 also, and the color should be black also. So now you can see, you get to see the route, the trips, and the travel time also. But there's something we also do. Remember, I did also. Remember, we have a filter, right? We have a column in our report that says either morning or evening, AM or PM. So we can bring in a slicer and just go select the time of day, which is AM or PM. Look at it here, AM or PM. So I want you to see everything here, either by morning or by evening. So you'll be able to tell what you're looking at. So with this slicer here, I can just come to format, general, effects, turn off the background, and slicer header should now be time of day, right? This can actually still be a drop down, right? So you can select a particular time of the day. You can select either PM, so you get to see everything during that time of the day. I think I would add some sort of formatting to this, right, to make it look nice. I'll come to format, values, background, just the way we did. Background should be this blue. Then the text should be white. Then of course this should be DIN, and that's it. yeah, time of day. So you can see, you can switch to AM, you can switch to PM, you can switch to none. Great. So once we have this sorted out, I think I have some sort of message or text here. Do I? Let's go back to the report and quickly check. Yeah, I have some sort of text here, so I'll just copy it. These are just text to explain what's going on here. So you can actually add your own text also. So basically, that's it. So for the next thing we have on the report, right, which is the matrix table showing the peak times and all that. So let's quickly look at that. First, I'll bring in a matrix table to make it fit here. Then on the matrix table, we want to bring in, on our calendar table, we want to bring in the weekday. Is it a weekday now? Let's go to our calendar table and check that. On our calendar, so we have the week, which we want to bring in the week now. So the week should come on the row. So on the row, I'll bring in the week, right? So Sunday down to Saturday. Then on the column, I want to bring in our data. That's the hour category. I want to bring in the hour category. I'll bring in the hour category. So you get to see from 12 p.m. Remember, we actually have PM selected. So that's why we're saying 12 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and all that. Okay. So what else do we want to bring now? We want to bring in our measure, which is the trips. So I'll select the trips. So you get to see the trips across the different time. Now, let's quickly format this, make it look nice. I'll expand this a bit. I can come to format, I can come to grid. First, I can come to layout, change this from default. It's on default, it's fine. Compact, I can make it tabular, not much difference. Or we can change it from default to none. So you have something like this, right? Next, scroll down a bit, you see options. You can increase the size to 11, increase the border padding by 1. So you have something like this, right? What do I want to do next is simply to come, what do I want to do? Maybe sure. Do we need the total on this end? We don't need the total, so I'll come put off the row total, put off the column total also. I don't think we need the total. Let me verify that. I don't think we need the total, so I'll put off the total. Okay, so great. Put off the total. Okay, so we can just increase this a little to make sure it fits into this very part. Just manually align this a little. Okay, great. So we can reduce the size also, bring it down a bit. Next, I'll just come to format, general effects. I'll put off the background, right? So I have something like this. Then I'll come to visual. I'll come to values. Nope. I'll simply scroll down, come to specific column, right? I'll just say apply to everything. I want you to align everything at the middle, right? Great. So now I'll go down to cell element and I'll put on the background color. So you have something like this. But I'll have some sort of conditional formatting, which is what we've done already, but I want to change the colors. So I'll come to format background color. For the highest value, I want that blue color we've been using, which is actually 07689F. This is the blue color. Then for the lowest, I want white. So I'll just click on OK. So I have something like this, right? So I have something like this. So next, I'm going to also bring in a clustered column chart, right? clustered column chart. And for the clustered column chart, I'm going to simply drop my hour category. So I'll come here, I'll put my hour category, right? And I'll also select my trips. So I have something like this. So I'll come to format, general effects, I'll put off the background to start with. I'll go to visual, y-axis, put off the value, put off the title, x-axis, put off the values, put off the title also. We don't need the title, right? Then general, I'll put off the title also. So this is what I have. But I know that this is working based on my R category. So I'll come to my x-axis, please. Scroll down, put off the title. So this is working based on my R category. And I know the first one is actually 2 p.m. You can see 12 p.m. I mean, this is 12 p.m., 1 p.m. and all that. Depends on what I have selected up there. So I'll simply scroll down again to columns. I'll put on the border, right? Come to layout, increase the spacing between, make it a bit slimmer. Maybe I'll make it 45, right? Then I'll change the color to the regular blue we're using, right? Then you can scroll down, put on the data label, expand the label, expand the values. This, I can make DIN, increase the size to 10, change the color to black. So you can also change the display unit to none. So you have the entire values display. So that is it. You can come down to the column, right? And the layout and probably decrease it to 40, right? So you have something like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is simply bring this and position it up here. Make sure it's aligned. I'll reduce the size up there. Okay, and just make sure it fits in a bit. Now look at what I have. So once is this is 12 p.m. see the value, but where I have the peak hours, you can actually see it tallies with what I have up here. So if, for example, we come to matrix visual, right, and we put on one of the totals to verify, you can actually see the total is same with what we have up here, 2885, 2885. So I'll just put that off. So this is a combination of the two charts. But one thing I forgot to check, right? This is for PM. So what I want to do is select this our slicer and come to format slicer setting. I'll change the selection to make sure that something is always selected, either PM or AM is selected. So I can come now, select AM. Everything changes, right? So I have to make sure it's well adjusted so I don't have these issues, right? So this is as at this point, I have to adjust it a bit. So I have to adjust it here a bit, make these adjustments, make these adjustments, make these adjustments, make these adjustments. Don't select anything, please. Make these adjustments. So I have to make sure I make this adjustment to make sure it's well aligned. I also check it out again, right? So now we're looking at AM. So I also want to check it out again to see if it's, so you see it's okay now, AM, PM. So works great. So what do I have up here is just some sort of text, right? Nothing more. So I'll just go back and bring that text. Just some sort of text to talk about the peak hours, right? Go back here. I'll attach a link to the report so you'll be able to see the text in case you want to have it in your report also. So with this, I think we're actually done with page 2. Remember, I said you have to make a copy for, you have to do this for average price and refunds also from your own end. So we're done with page 2 of the report. So I'll just save this for now. And finally, let's just look at the last page, which is the challenges. So for page 3, it's just two basic things we're looking at, right? Or literally just one thing we're looking at, which is the trips And let's go back to the report. So we're looking at the trips and the delay reasons, right? The number of trips that were delayed based on the reasons, and of course, on an average, how many hours is the delay. Then we're looking at the top route, that's the route, and by the different delay reasons. That's basically what we're looking at here. So let's navigate back to our report now and go to page 3. Why do I have this on page 3? Okay, so 6 to 2%. Okay, let me confirm the canvas setting. The canvas setting is not aligned with what we've been using. Let me be sure. So we've been using the custom 1080, 1920. Let's see. Okay, so for page 3, we're also going to do the same thing. The settings should be custom and it should be 1080 and 1920. Okay, so let's go bring in our background for page 3. So Canva background, browse. Remember all these, you must have downloaded them before now. On my desktop, I think I have the background. Just make this fit and reduce transparency. So this is it. Okay, so basically what we want to do is bring in a clustered bar chart, right? Expand. We want to look at the total trips. Then we want to look at the delay reason or so, or reason for delay. Yeah, reason for delays. So reason for delays. Now, but when you look at it, you actually see on time on it. On time means there were no delays. So expand your filters, go to reasons and select all, uncheck on time, and just log this in. So you actually have everything you need, whether signal failure, technical issues, staffing, staff shortage, and traffic. I wanted to actually combine this staffing and staff shortage. So we can actually do that because I did that for weather before now. So we can do that. Let's expand, come to transform data, right? One of the quick way to do that is here. While we're here, let's quickly go to delay reasons. That's reasons for delay. And let's select. So what we have is staffing and staff shortage. I think staff shortage would be the right word, right? So I'll select staffing. I'll just right click and say I want to replace this value with staff. Make sure the spelling is exact, staff shortage, and click on OK. So once I've done that, I'll come to the apply steps and delete that filtered row 1. I'll delete it. So now let's see if we have everything in order. So I have staff shortage. If I load more, I should just see staff shortage, no other. But I'm still seeing signal failure twice. Signal failure, signal failure, signal failure, signal failure. Okay, one thing we can do is select these reasons, come to transform, format, just trim if there's any white spaces, format, just clean if there's any white spaces also. So signal failure, signal failure. Why am I having two signal failures? I'll select both signal failures. I think I'll just right click, replace values, Control C, Control V, click OK. And I'll filter the row 1 again, just delete. I think okay, yeah, so one of the signal failure is actually a small letter F, while the other one is a capital letter F. So I'll click on OK. Right click, replace value. I think there's a better way to do this though. Well, let me just continue what I'm doing. Click and click. Okay, so I'll come back to my apply step, delete the filter. That's the filtered row 1. So I don't have anything filter. I think this settles everything. So now we're good to go. If you load more, I think we're also good, no issues anymore. So now I can come to just home and click on close, close and apply. So this should be well sorted for me. Okay, so we have weather, signal failure, staff shortage, technical issue, and traffic. So let's just format this, right? Expand, come to the y-axis, of course, change this to DIN, make it 10, increase the font size, increase the color, that's make the color black, I mean, not increase the color. Turn off the title, then come to the x-axis. We don't need the values, we don't need the title. Of course, you have to give a better title. Then for your y-axis, you can also increase this to 12 so you can see it clearly. Right, so now I'll simply come to the data labels, put it on, but I'll expand the data labels, right? And I'll come down to where I have values. I'll remove trips. I don't just want to show the trips. I'll remove trips. I'll come to label. On the DAX, I'll come to label and choose, that's the ticket info label 3. I'll select that because I want to see the trips and I want to see the delay time on an hourly basis. What's the average delay time? So I'll change this to DIN, increase this to maybe 12, make the color say black. Okay, once I make it black, that's because everything here is delay, so I want to use the red color. So on the bars, when it's weather, since weather is the first one, I'll just give it a red color, maybe really red color, something really red. Then when it's signal failure, I also want to give it the same red, but something a bit not so red. So these are just things you need to do manually, right? I'll make it, but I can actually do this the other way around, but I think this is also fine. So for technical failure, let's just use this. For traffic, let's just use this. So what I was basically trying to say, I was seeing if we can exploit the option of using conditional formatting to achieve this, but we don't need to go through that route. We can just do this and we're fine. So next is just to bring in a table, right? So also give this a better title, please. So let me go grab the title for this chart. Okay, the title. Let me go grab the title analysis of train delay and duration. Select general title. I'll just paste this here and make it bold. Oh, also make it, take it to the center. Title, centralize, and effects. I'll turn off the background also. So this is what you're going to have. And finally, let's just bring in a matrix table down here. What we want to see is our from and to, that's departure to arrival station down here, by the trips. By the trips. Also, we want to look at the top 10. So we're not looking at all. We want to look at the top 10 also. Top 10 by the trips. Apply. So this is the top 10. Now we want to expand this. I want to sort this actually, sort by the trips. So now I want to expand these trips by the delays, right? The delay was reason for delay. So I come to my rail. I'll drop the reason for delay on the column of the matrix. I'll drop it on the column, expand. I'll drop the reason for delay on the column. So reason for delay, I'll drop it on the column. So I have something like this. Now remember that the reason for delay, you need to check your filters and make sure on time is not there. On check on time should not be there. Lock this up. So can expand, reduce the filter, come to grid. First layout, change it to none, compact to tabular, come to grid options, increase the font size. You can also increase the padding if you want, if it fits. Just make the adjustments you need to make here. And one thing I did here was just to select this, right? Come to format, come to cell element, just put on the background color and you have something like this. Click on conditional formatting. I want the highest value to actually be red, something like this. Then I want the lowest to be white. And I click on OK. So you have something like this. So with this, you're actually done with the report. you're done with the entire report. What I have on this side of the report is just a summary of the entire analysis. So I can just go copy that, right? Like I said, the link to this report is there, so you actually see it and see this text clearly, in case you're not seeing them clearly. But it just what I have here is just a summary of everything within the report. Everything within the report. I can just copy this though. Control C and navigate to the reports and just paste this here. So that's basically everything I have in the report. Now, the final thing you need to bring into your report is actually the page navigator, right? Which means you need to come to insert, you need to come to button, navigator, and page navigator. So you bring in the page navigator. So it depends on where you want to put it. You can place it up here, right? So one thing I did also, the styling for the page navigator comes to style. On default, I want the font style to be DIN. I want to increase it to 14. Then I don't want a border. I don't want a fill, right? So this is what I want on default. So I said on hover, I want to just increase the size to 16, right? So if you hover on it, it just comes up a bit. Then finally on selected, I want to increase the size to 14. It should also be DIN. Then the font color should be, I think the font color it can be white though. Yeah, it can be white. Then you can come to the accent bar, put it on, right? Expand the accent bar. I don't want it to be on the left. I want it to be on the bottom. And I want to increase it to, that's the width to be 5. Change the color to be white. So you have it selected like this. You know you're in page 2. But considering that the other pages are going to be white color, so I think we should do a bit, change the color from white. So I'll come to the style on selected. The font color, I think I'll make it this blue. No, 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 no. I'll make it a lighter blue actually. Something like this, right? Then the accent bar can't be white. Probably change it to a different color or black actually. You can actually work on this. It doesn't really matter. You can work on this. It's up to you to use any color, but make it look nice. So on page 2, because I'm actually considering page 2 when we bring it here, how it's going to look. So you can actually see that on page 2 it looks a bit better because you know that it's page 2 that is selected. Then you can actually bring it to page 3 also up here. So you can make all this formatting and do every other thing. You can add some more things to this report. It's up to you. Add some more things to this report. So this is the overview, page 2, page 3, and all. So far, so good. That's all about this interesting notebook. If this video was helpful, don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you've not. Until then, I'll see you again. Take care. Thank you for all your support. Bye for now.